It is week 2 of high school football across the Rio Grande Valley and the state of Texas, including here at Weslaco High School, where the Weslaco Wildcats are taking on McCallum Memorial. And the Weslaco Wildcats come in here as the #1 ranked team in the Rio Grande Valley. Hello, everybody. Carlos Roberto along with Mike Gonzalez, and it is the Miriam Guerra All-State Insurance pregame show. And the Wildcats, they got to be riding high after what happened last week, being ranked #1 by the sports writers across the Rio Grande Valley. Here's what Coach Mike Burgett had to say about that.
Surprised. I mean, are we the #1 team? I guess after week 1, yes. But, that's not our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to make the playoffs. Our ultimate goal is to, this week, beat McCallum Memorial. We can't worry about what people rank. I mean, sometimes Alabama's ranked #1, but at the end of the year, maybe Clemson wins it all. So, rankings are people's opinion. If you ask me if we're #1, I'll let you know in 10 weeks.
All right, just like any good coach, he's going to play down the ranking, and he says, hey, it's not where you start, it's where you finish, Mike.
I agree, Carlos, and I mean, Coach Burgett has been around the business for so many years, has been a part of so many championships. He realizes that this is only game #2 of a 10-week regular season before the playoffs start. So, I mean, rankings to him don't mean all that much, but it is an honor for the Wildcat program, and I'm sure.
And you got to be surprised that San Benito, they had a good game last week. They beat Laredo United, but yet they drop in the rankings.
They did. I mean, Laredo United is a playoff team, perennial playoff team, year in and year out, and San Benito took care of business. And so you would think, hey, San Benito will stay #1 and Weslaco East #2, but no, the sports writers felt no. The Wildcats made a statement last week, got bumped up to #1, and so, let's see how the Wildcats respond.
Coach Burgett did say that he appreciates the #1 ranking. It is because of all the hard work that the previous teams from the past 15 years, and of course past the past few years, last year, remember, going 3 deep into the playoffs, and that is one of the reasons why they're ranked #1. So he does appreciate the ranking, but he does not want to play it up too much. All right, so we do have Weslaco East taking on McCallum Memorial. Last year, it was at Memorial Stadium in McAllen. This year, it's here at Bobby Lackey Stadium. What a classic that we had last year. 2016, the game was one that went into overtime. Let's take a look at some of those highlights, because early on we had, that was Lefevre laying down the wood. And then a kickoff, McCallum Memorial, they were in control of this game, muffed by Pedraza, Roy Pedraza, that's right, he returned kickoffs last year. 4 yards deep into the end zone, and he takes off running. What are you doing? Well, he's trying to score a touchdown. There he is down the sideline right in front of the Weslaco East Wildcat bench, and just runs out of gas as he's taken right there at the 4-yard line. No problem, just punch it in from there. No, the ball comes loose. A scramble for it, picked up by one of the members of McCallum Memorial, and he is off to the races. It was just one of those crazy games, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely, Carlos. Momentum changing after momentum changing after momentum changing, back and forth. But you got to give credit to the Wildcats for being able to overcome it and stay with the Mustangs.
The Mustangs had an opportunity to win it because Weslaco East mounted a comeback. Who says that the Wildcats did not pass in 2016? Lefevre to J.C. Vargas in for the score. They have to go into overtime because the Mustangs missed a last-second field goal. Lefevre punches it in for the Wildcats. And then the Mustangs, they had their opportunity to try to even up the score. They get the ball. They had to get to about the 3-yard line on a 4th down play right here. They give it, Spates to the outside, and he is stopped short of the 1st down, short of the 3-yard line, and the Wildcats win that game in 2016, a classic battle in overtime. It's one of those games, Mike. We saw it last year, and this year promises to be another good one.
Absolutely, Carlos. This year it's Bobby Lackey Stadium. This time the Memorial coming into Weslaco East house, and I mean, both teams ranked in the top 2, top 3. This is box office game, non-district style. I'm very excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, Memorial, they won last week, but so did Weslaco East, of course, and everybody remembers that game from last week. Let's take a look at the highlights from last week, because it was Sherryland here at home, and it was all Weslaco East and the Wildcats. This was a big third down play by JC. 3rd down and 10, they go for it. They decide to run with the football, and JC was able to punch it in from there. In fact, 4 touchdowns for JC, 2 in the air and 2 on the ground. Freddie Gonzalez scores right there, and it was all Weslaco East. The passing game was working. You see a little bit of trickeration working out here as Lefevre finds JC on that touchdown, and Weslaco East wins it by a score of 62-0. And that's part of the reason why they're ranked number 1, because of the impressive showing that they had last week.
Yeah, Carlos, first game, they got off to a slow start. Probably had some of those first game jitters, but then got going in the second quarter, scoring 17 points, had a 24-0 advantage, and then they scored 28 points in the third quarter to pull away, and the defense just a remarkable job scoring their 3rd shutout when you consider the 2 scrimmages, the first-teamers, and then last week against a Sharyland team that's supposed to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and the other Sharyland team, Pioneer, they were taking on the Mustangs. So let's take a look at that video, because that was a good game. In fact, it was pretty close early on, but the Mustangs started to run away with that one. In fact, it was Ethan Bazan who had a kickoff return for a touchdown. It went 80 yards for the score, so don't sleep on the special teams of McCallum Memorial. They're more than just one player. You see that touchdown right there. And then there was Spates. They gave the ball plenty of times. Campbell Spates, the sophomore running back, had the ball. He carried it 20 times for 119 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was a close game. McCallum Memorial was up by only 3 at the half, but they go on to win it by a score of 41-24. This is the team, McCallum Memorial. They're pretty good also. If Weslaco East is ranked number 1, San Benito is ranked number 2. McCallum Memorial is right there at number 3.
Right behind San Benito is McCallum Memorial. I mean, this is a team many project to do very well this year, to go very deep in the playoffs, have been a perennial power for the last decade. Campbell Spates is the younger brother of Trevor, Division I prospect. We know Trevor moved on to Stanford. They feel like this kid has potential. Rushed over 1,000 yards last year as a freshman. And as you mentioned, Ethan Bazan with a big return last week. He scored 2 touchdowns to help the offense out. And then quarterback Angel Almaguer with a solid night, 4 of 8, 68 yards. And a touchdown pass. However, he got injured in the third quarter with a knee injury, and we don't know if he'll be able to play tonight. However, they have backup quarterback Sean Scoggin, who stands at 6'2", 185 pounds, and only a junior, so where we might get a glimpse of the present and future of the Memorial Mustangs.
Yeah, you talk about weapons. Yeah, weapons for Weslaco East, the big 3, but also weapons on the other side as well for the Mustangs. One of the big weapons for the Wildcats is, of course, Richard Lefevre. That passing attack from last week, Richard Lefevre, he had 241 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in that contest, and he likes to sling that football around. The big question is, will they continue to do that tonight against McCallum Memorial, or they go to the old ground and pound?
Yeah, that's a good point, Carlos. I mean, with Coach Brigette, you never know what you can expect. I mean, he's always ahead of the ball game. He might have just been showing that to perhaps show something different tonight. We don't know, but what I like about it is that they proved that they can throw the football. He threw to 5 different receivers, and again, over 200 yards. And I did a little bit of research, Carlos. I go, when was the last time a Weslaco East quarterback threw for over 200 yards in this offense? Are you kidding me? Well, guess what? That happened in 2015. And who was the quarterback? Richard Lefevre, as a sophomore, threw for 267 yards against La Jolla High in a 52-0 win.
Now, you see that 62-0 score, and all you think about is offense. Well, the defense has done a pretty good job as well. Goose Eggs. We say Goose because Coach Rene Guzman is a defensive coordinator. So a bunch of zeros, if you go back to the scrimmages, they haven't been able to score it upon. We think there's going to be some scoring in this game, but that defense last week was just spectacular.
That's right, Carlos. I mean, it's like we've mentioned throughout the camp and start of the season, 8 returners from last year, but it's like Coach Brigette said here last week in our post-game show, they've actually have up to 12 guys who have started at least 1 game. I mean, what a benefit to have, what a bonus to have that kind of experience. Only allowed 153 total yards to a Sharyland team that I know that they were playing playing with a backup quarterback, but hey, that's still really, really good. I mean, we had a couple of guys with 11 tackles. That was Joel Longoria, Freddy Cardenas, and the team, the unit, got 3 turnovers and had 2 sacks from Gerald Garza, who's now 100% healthy.
All right, so we set the stage for tonight's game, number 1 versus number 3 right here at Bobby Lackey Stadium. Listen for the audio on Facebook and also come back for the post-game show that we will have here at Bobby Lackey Stadium. We had some games already because week 2 already started on Thursday night with a bunch of games. Among them, Ed-Cal-Chelsea, that's right, our neighbors to the north. We're always keeping an eye on the Mid-Valley teams. And Ed-Cal-Chelsea, they had an outstanding game. It was very, very close, but in the end, playing against Edinburgh Vela, Vela won that game 56-35, but you got to be impressed with Ed-Cal-Chelsea because they were right there until Vela started to pull away.
Yeah, they were, Carlos, and I mean, they come off a huge win over Los Fresnos last week, and then they had to go on the road to play an Edinburgh Vela team who's a 6A against a 5A, and, it just feels like with these two teams, they play classics, and last night was no exception. At one point, it was tied at 35, and then it came down to special teams. A key fumble recovery on a kickoff set up the go-ahead score. Then a punt returner, Daniel Enriquez from Edinburgh Vela, had a 49-yard punt return for a score, and earlier in the game had a 41-yard return. Didn't score, but it set up another one earlier in the game. So special teams was very critical in this game.
Yeah, look out for Ed-Cal-Chelsea. Even though they lost that game, look out for them in 32-5A. They're going to make some noise. Another team to look out for, the Mercedes Tigers. That's right, our other neighbor. In fact, a team that Weslaco High School is going to be playing next week. They're going to be playing against McAllen Road, and they're going to win or try to get that first win of the season. They're going to have to do it without their linebacker, one of the best linebackers in the Rio Grande Valley, that is Roger Adame III.
Yeah, Carlos, Roger Adame III, probably the best linebacker here in the Rio Grande Valley. Had an arm injury last week, broke his arm, is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. They're really, really going to miss him. However, if he were to come back, say 6 weeks, that's going to be, I have it here for October 27th against Brownsville Lopez. If this team can hang in there and stay in that playoff picture, Roger can come back in there and make a difference toward the end of the year and even perhaps the playoffs. And, we've seen some crazy things. I mean, you never know if Roger can come back. He's a big, strong young man. If he can come back maybe a week earlier than that, it's against Ed-Cal-Chelsea, which is always a terrific game. So we'll see how the Tigers do from here. Now it's a big challenge here with McAllen Rowe.
Yeah, he'll be out for at least 6 weeks. Got to let that bone heal for Adame, but look out for him in the future. He still plays basketball, and he's one of those players who'll be signing on the dotted line come February because he will be playing football at the next level. Donna at PSJ North, what's going on with the Redskins losing last week to Valley View, Mike? That was a bit of a surprise.
It was. I mean, considering that the Redskins have lost a lot to Donna North, now that the schools have split up, on paper, the Redskins were heavy favorites, went on the road, and unfortunately lost by 1 point, gave up a late last-minute touchdown. And, PSJ North, this is a team that started last year 7-0, dropped their last 3, missed the playoffs. I don't recall that happening for what I could remember. And then last week, they dropped one to Mission High. So both of these teams are looking for a big win tonight to get the year going.
Yeah, well, they'll be taking on the Raiders, so we'll see what happens in that game. Watch for scores after the show. All right, it's now time. We'll get to some more important games, but we have a special guest that we want to bring onto the show, a 2012 graduate from Weslaco East. You might remember him on the wrestling team. You might remember him as one of the wide receivers. This is Eli Urbina.
How you doing, Eli?
Welcome to the show. Come on in and have a seat. And this tall young man right here is known, right now for UFC. Tell us a little bit what you're doing, because you're doing some fighting right now.
Yeah, right after high school, me and my younger brother Gilbert Urbina and my older brother Hector Urbina, we got together and started our MMA careers. So it's been 3 years going, and we've been going strong. My younger brother's undefeated. I'm coming off a loss last week, but we're going to keep fighting. We're still grinding and keep going.
Yeah, fighting in the UFC, that's really awesome for you, Eli, and we're so proud of you. And, I mean, I'm sure you've had an opportunity to maybe, fight with some of these big names. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I only have 3 fights in this whole MMA game, and a lot of guys come with a lot of experience and stuff. I'm coming back from a wrestling background, Weslaco East, and fighting bigger names and trying to get my name out there, and eventually find my way into the UFC. And I feel like I'm on the verge and the brink of breaking down these doors and getting there. Me and my brothers.
What do you think about the fight You had Mayweather a couple of weeks ago against McGregor, and that was a classic battle. It was built up as going to be a classic, and it was for the first few rounds until McGregor, a little bit towards the end, started to run out of gas.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of Conor McGregor, and I was definitely going for him, but that's Mayweather's world in that boxing ring. It'd be a different story if it was in the cage, but in that ring, Mayweather knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and do you feel like UFC fighters proved that they can hang with boxers?
I definitely do believe MMA fighters prove that. There's a lot of boxers transition in the MMA world, and they have trouble as well. But it's all combat sports, and Conor McGregor showed who he is.
Now you played football, you were wrestling as well. Coach Rakovich was probably your wrestling coach
Yes, sir,
at the
Coach
time.
Rock.
A fiery coach now at Donna North. But how does it feel to see? Of course, you won back-to-back titles back in 2012 playing football. How does it feel to see the success now? It seems like Weslaco has taken it to another level now.
Definitely, it's great to watch them, grow like this. I moved here in 2010. And just off the bat, I knew that's a great coaching staff, great environment, great program. And every year you hear the news on these guys, and they're growing. They're developing in a powerhouse school, of the Valley and of Texas as well.
Do you feel like some of this skills that you developed playing football has helped you in your professional career?
I do believe the program from football here at Weslaco did. Their weight program, their training programs, it helped me grow as a young man and develop those into further in my career of MMA. Definitely helped.
All right, Eli, we're going to go ahead and let you go right now. The band's about to start. We got a little bit more things to talk about. Congratulations on your career. We'll be looking for you.
Good seeing
on
you
UFC.
guys.
Hopefully we'll see you on TV here pretty soon. Speaking of games, we still have to talk about San Benito, the number 2 ranked team and the team that's going to battle, for a district championship. They're taking on San Antonio Central. That game will be taking place in San Antonio, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. Last year, San Antonio Central came to San Benito. San Benito crushed East Central, but we'll see what happens this time. The Greyhounds have to make that 4-hour trip. They come off a big win last week against Laredo United, as we mentioned. Eric Retta, who's going to make a case for All-Valley Player of the Year, had 111 yards and threw to 5 different receivers. Tyrone Harper can hurt you running or catching the ball, had a big night as well. Meanwhile, San Antonio Central come off a 28-0 loss to San Marcos High School.
And a lot of people don't really talk too much about, Palmview and Economides, but these are 2 teams that went to the playoffs last year, and I think also Weslaco East might have some coaches at that game tonight.
Yeah, that's right, Carlos. So the Lobos come off a thrilling overtime win last week over Roma, and Edinburgh Economides had to come from behind over there in Brownsville at Sam Stadium, come up with a huge win. This is a team we got to keep an eye on because Weslaco East is going to Edinburgh Economides next week, and we saw what Edinburgh Economides did here last year.
And then also we have Mission versus Mission Vets, the Battle of Conway, or we could call it the Tom Landry Bowl if you would like to. It's going to be Coy Detmer, the new head coach of the Mission Eagles, taking on David Gilpin and Mission Veterans, and look out for Mission Vets because what they did last week against Harlingen.
Oh, that's right. Landry Gilpin with a big night was able to throw 2 touchdown passes, had 1 run. And the interesting to me, Carlos, is that Coy Detmer, a former Mission High graduate who did an excellent job with the Eagles, is on the sidelines now as a head coach going up against David Gilpin, who is Landry Gilpin's father. That's going to be an interesting chess game there.
It's going to be very, very interesting. Who is the more popular team now in Mission? Is it the Eagles or is it the Patriots? Well, we'll let the fans decide. And that game taking place at Donna because Tom Landry Stadium is not yet complete, but it's going to be nice when it is done. All right, one more thing to talk about. Congratulations to J.C. Vargas because he was nominated for the Texas High School Football Magazine Player of the Week. And you see his stats right there, 4 touchdowns and 200 all-purpose yards.
How about that, Carlos? So what a week it was for him, doing it on offense, doing it on defense, even special teams. To get this kind of recognition across the state is phenomenal. So congratulations to J.C. Vargas.
Yep, and we can't forget about that interception he had, and of course a punt return for about 48 yards. All right, for Mike Gonzalez, I'm Carlos Robledo. The band is already about to set up. The football players will be here pretty soon, as well as Weslaco East and McCallum Memorial will compete right here in week 2 of high school football. We'll see you after the game.